clever to get live graphics and animations onto your live streams, onto your screen. You can draw circles, you can annotate, you can do live fly-ins of titles and graphics. You'll actually see a lot of that on this show. So today we're going to talk about one of the tools that's out there that's actually very affordable and fun and easy to use. And we're going to get into it and actually do a live demo of it. It's called the Panimation software from Globecaster, and it is a really cool software tool. Is accessible and affordable, and it works fantastically well with NDI. So we're going to dive into it with the CEO of Globecaster today, and we're going to talk about animation, live graphics, telestration, Panimation, and these tools that you may want to take advantage of for your own live streams. Stick around. It's going to be a fun episode of Wirecast Live. Welcome, and I'll see you after the opening credits. Or Periscope, here at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time, lovely California time. Each week we talk about live broadcasting, about social media, and live tools that you can use to take advantage of the growing ecosystem of live video out there. What we do, obviously, is we make a software called Wirecast, but we know that that's not all that goes into a successful live stream like this one. You may be working on the business side of it, the marketing side, how to grow your audience, the content side of it. You may be working on live graphics, which is what we're going to talk about today. There's a lot that can go into any particular stream, and there's so many different reasons to stream that this is the show we like to talk about it all on. So come on, mark your calendars, and you can also sign up for our email list, and we'll let you know what our upcoming guests and topics will be. It's an easy way to get notified when we go live and what we're going to be talking about each week here on the show. So we're very glad to have you. If you're a first-time viewer, say hi, leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube, and we will be happy to read those out during the show. If you have questions for me or for our guests, we love to get those and ask those on the air. And take a moment to share this or tell us where you're viewing from. I'm always curious to see where our audience is tuning in to the show from. And this is now our third season, so we're very proud to be bringing you this show each week. And some of the past archives, if you're curious, you should go click around and see some of the old episodes. There's some really great topics and guests on them. I highly encourage you to check that out. Okay, we like to do also on this week is celebrate. We have been our salty old broadcasters that have been doing this for a long time, and some of you are just kind of getting started. Either way, we encourage you to get out there and start streaming and then share it with us, especially if you're using Wirecast. Use the hashtag #WhereIsWirecast so we can look at what streams are going on each week, and we'll pick one winner for our Stream of the Week. And this week, our Stream of the Week winner is from Robert Imbriale, and he is the sort of the creator and solo operator of Coach's Corner. He does a live video broadcast to Facebook, and he also uses that for his podcast. He uses each episode that he streams to Facebook and repurposes it as a podcast. And that's not the first time we've heard of some Wirecast users doing that in this way. It's a way to get the content out in multiple places. It's a very sort of easy way to do that and to repurpose that content and allow audiences to find it from different locations and not have to duplicate effort. So very clever, very good use of your time and your technology, Robert. And I have to say the stream looks amazing. And he shared that inside of our Facebook users group. So you can go to the Wirecast users group on Facebook and check out this stream shared from Robert. Looks awesome, and I can't wait to watch more of Coach's Corner. I might have to start listening to that podcast. So thank you so much for sharing. Again, if you want to be featured on Stream of the Week, or you have a stream you just want to get some critique or feedback, or just share with people, or let us know how you're doing things like Robert did with the podcast repurposing, we would love to know about it. Use the hashtag #WhereIsWirecast, and it'll be easy for us to search it up and find it. And you might just be the Stream of the Week winner on the next show. All right, that typically sometimes we have a live announcement or a live, we have some upcoming news. There's not a ton, and I see Robert, you're welcome. Congratulations. Thanks for tuning in this week. I see we have Robert Hicks in the house. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And Jacopo Digiuli? How do I say that? Cut the price of Wirecast Studio. He would like a little bit cheaper. You know, Speaking of pricing and sales, actually, that is a little piece of news. We do have a summer sale going on right now, but not for new purchases, just if you already own Wirecast 7 or earlier. So if you've been on the fence about upgrading, you're just like, I don't know, maybe it's too expensive, this is the best chance you're going to get. This sale is crazy, so check it out. There's a summer sale going on for upgrades if you are in Wirecast 4 through 7. I recommend you check that out. You can go to the upgrade page at telestream.net if you want to learn more about the pricing and how that works. I see Jeff Sia in the house tuning in from Texas. Welcome, buddy. I hope you got that coupon okay. I want to make sure that you got that. Sorry it took me so long. Bill Seward from New York, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in using Wirecast gear for graduations this week. That's awesome. We actually have another video in the works on streaming live graduations. We'll be sharing that out soon. That's coming to us from another Wirecast user, and they are going to be talking all about how they use the Wirecast gear to stream live graduations. Okay, folks, I think if you're curious or you want to see what else is going on, we have webinars going on each week and often throughout the month. We also have more upcoming guests and shows. July is going to be slam-packed with some amazing guests on the show. You can catch all that information over at telestream.net/events. And that's telestream.net/events. Check out there if you're curious on what we're doing. We post where we're going as far as trade shows and physical destinations. We also post our webinars and our upcoming shows on this show and episodes. So all those places are good, fun places to check out. And without further ado, I think it's time we dive in and start talking about telestration and live graphics. This is something I have not usually talked about on this show. I really haven't done talked about a solution for how you can actually draw live graphics onto the screen. And I'm very excited to get into this one today because this is a really neat tool and it's accessible to all of you if you want to check it out. So without further ado, we're going to bring on our guest of the hour, Mr. Mike Behnke, the CEO and one of the earliest people at Globecaster Systems. He is now the sole guy in charge, and he is bringing this software to all of you with this new fangled technology called NDI, which came out a few years ago. They added it to the Panimation software and some of the stuff they're doing, and the results are magical with what you can do. So we're actually going to spend some time getting our hands dirty with Mike as our guide on how to do this and how you can do this with Wirecast. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Mike, who's joining us live from St. Louis.
That's right. Thank you, Andrew. It's great to be here. What a great introduction.
Thank you. I'm sort of doing it from the seat of my pants here, but I definitely want to make sure that you feel welcome and that people know a little bit about what you're doing and what your company does. Can you fill in some of the gaps for us, though? I don't know the whole story behind the Panimation software and Globecaster Systems.
Sure, absolutely. Quick history on the product. This product was born actually back in the mid-90s by a company called Play Incorporated, which is an unbelievably ahead of their time group of people building technology focused on doing just what we're doing right now, live streaming, creating graphics, animations, all the things that you would need in a production. They were focused on way back when 56K and 300K were like, the hot speeds for an internet connection. So unbelievable technology that this stuff was born from. Panimation is actually one of the original tools, that were part of that suite called Trinity. And, back in around 99, the company got purchased by a group here in St. Louis. And, it's funny, I think I was the only guy who stood up. We were in Rancho Cordova at the time there in Sacramento. And I stood up in the meeting when these guys from St. Louis came in, and I said, "Does this mean we have to move to St. Louis?" And I'm the only guy who actually had to move to St. Louis. So
like he does, everyone else can stay.
Yeah, but... right, exactly. There was like 50 of us in there, and anyway, it turns out it was a good thing. I've had a great time here in St. Louis. It's a great city. built a family here now. And anyway, my focus is to take that core technology that was created so long ago and, transform it into a solution, once again, that makes a lot of sense for people who have, Wirecast and off-the-shelf hardware by manufacturers like Blackmagic and AJA and you name it. There's a ton of them out there. So that's it. I mean, Trinity was it was sort of it was a total hybrid system. There was a big hardware component to it, literally a 10 RU,
Yeah,
80
actually,
pound
I have
box.
I think up on my desktop here. I've got the Global Streams website here. So maybe while you're talking, I'll just pan through here. So Deverly, you throw this
Yeah,
up while he talks us through here,
sure,
and
sure.
you can
So
get me
right
out of
there.
there.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So at the top there is Globecaster and Trinity. We're talking about those are the two units that we built, and it's a massive hardware undertaking. There's over 35 custom cards inside that
Oh
box.
wow.
Yeah, and they were all built to run on Windows NT. We go back that far. And it actually still runs on Windows 10 actually. So there are still probably, a couple hundred users strong that are still relying on that product every single day that I'm aware of. We sold about probably 4,000 of those units over the course of a decade. And, they're just little tanks. I mean, they work so well. Actually, they can do live streaming as well. The thing that sort of, put the kibosh on that unit was the fact that it's standard definition.
Mm.
So back around 2006, 2007, when high def became a thing that people could buy, in a way that was affordable, we saw a pretty mass exodus over the next few years. Not because people wanted to leave, it's because they just either had to, because they're a local government or a school and they only get funding, one time, so they have to take advantage of it type thing. So it was sad to see a lot of the customers go. I've kept in touch with most of them and continue to work with a lot of these guys. And you can still buy a Globecaster today. If you want a standard def box, definitely not here to talk about that per se, but it is out there and we still support it.
Hmm.
It's just been a rock for a lot of people. And, I'm excited to be able to free the software applications that, enable people to do all these things and, sort of cut the cord, so to speak, from the big box and leverage great tools like you've built with Wirecast, in combination. If you need coax connections, I mean, that's been solved with all these off-the-shelf cards. And, this NDI thing is really sort of what made me sit up and frankly, gave us some oxygen here at Global Streams
Hmm.
because, frankly, the prospect of developing HD for that box, while we would have loved to do it, would have been quite an expensive proposition.
Right, that's a
And
ton of new hardware, and the manufacturing costs alone and all that stuff, making that
oh,
transition would have been quite a bit.
and you're trying to compete with Blackmagic ATEM switchers at $2,000. It just doesn't make any sense from a
Right.
business perspective. So we definitely, I took over the company back in the end of 2014. After being a tech support guy, systems engineer for 20 years, basically.
Hmm.
And the first thing I did was call the guys back in Sacramento and say, let's get together and talk about a way forward. And I've been working with those same guys that were so innovative, way back when in transforming this thing into something that makes sense again for people. They're great
Yeah,
tools.
so that's where maybe the NDI comes into play, because instead of having to build another box that people have to replace their old box with or order special, and that's the only thing your software runs on, now you can take the software and, as you said, free it from the box. People can put it on their own computers. Modern computers are quite powerful these days. Graphics cards have come a long way. You can run this
Unbelievable.
software on any machine or most machines now, and then you can use, instead of having to have these special custom machine designed connections for coaxial cables and HDMI and all that stuff, which gets very expensive, you can just push the signal out over the network. So what your software can do is now available and accessible to any other software that speaks that language. Is that
That's right.
okay?
That's right.
And that's
You know,
where NDI comes into play. I mean, that's the magic that kind of makes your software now suddenly accessible to everyone else's software like ours.
there is a bit of irony in this because, Play Incorporated was born from part of a group who left NewTek back in, the mid 90s. And, they built Trinity and, Play Incorporated. And, and then of course there was a sort of a handing off of the baton whenever we stopped developing, in a meaningful way, HD stuff. NewTek sort of stepped right into where we were, and occupy that, and they occupy that same space now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I met Tim Jennison for the first time this year at NAB, and just thanked him, for opening NDI up as something that people could develop around, because it's definitely given us the oxygen that we needed, like I said, to commit to seeing this through or starting a new chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
mm-hmm.
There's a time when you watch your customer base just dwindle and you're like, well, should I just pack it up, and
right. You have to make that
go
decision.
somewhere else. Yeah, it's a real sobering time, whenever that happens. And so, the fact that we were able to, make this transition has just been great. And,
looks like you have a visitor.
My son Jake. Yeah, he's just waking up from his nap.
That does look like a kid who just woke up from a nap. Hey, buddy. Hey.
This guy right here was born 30 days after I took over the company.
So you had a lot of responsibility coming all down at once.
Oh my gosh, Andrew, it was unbelievable what happened. So anyway, here comes Jessica.
Welcome.
That's okay. That's all right. Anyway, so Jake and I will talk about Panimation for a little
bit. So I want to open this up. I want to actually jump to and Jake, maybe you can help us. I want to show a little bit about how the software works. Now, right now it's Windows only software, but if you are really committed to running it on a Mac, you can run it on like a Parallels, virtual machine, right?
That's right. It works great with Parallels.
Okay.
In fact, hold on. I am gonna see Jake off here. he wants to play with Panimation. He loves playing with Panimation. So anyway,
have the Panimation software, which I downloaded and installed. It just installs in a folder on my system, and that is basically going to be called Globecaster. Let me pull it up right here. So Globecaster, and there's a number of different installations right here. So we have, and this basically, you choose the size of window you want. Again, this the application window size that works for your monitor. That's why it looks like there's like 4 Globecasters there. But once you pick the size you want, you're good. It just opens up the software in that size window, and you're pretty good to go. So I picked the cool. All right, so I have Wirecast open. I have Panimation open, and this is pretty cool. Like I see, we've got kind of a control panel here. It looks like we have some bins and a library up here, and on the right as well. And actually it looks like those are sort of duplicates of each other, so I can, if I'm right-handed or I'm left-handed, doesn't matter, I got equal access there, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Those are just folders on your hard drive. If you click on the A button actually up there, it'll show you where exactly you are. So
perfect.
Your C programs, and they're just literally folders on your hard drive that could have content on them that you've brought in from anywhere, Photoshop, After Effects. If you have a content pack like Digital Juice or something like that, you can use file sequences or AVIs from those tools and modify them to your needs here. So this
is where you can pull in basically your library of images or things you want to work with custom wise. But of course you have a lot of stuff that comes with the software too, so people don't have to build their own stuff if they don't want to, but we can get to there in a second. And then down here it looks like there's almost a timeline layer here.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so let's just get something really fast. Let's hook up to Wirecast as quickly as possible. So, and we should probably define what we mean by telestrator, right? So telestrator is like when people are, when you see a football game and, John Madden's drawing the X's and O's on the screen, he's sort of illustrating on a television. So is that sort of the origin of the term telestrator?
Yeah, that's right. It's actually invented back in the 50s by a doctor, I want to say out of Chicago, who was doing using it for medical purposes. And
Hmm.
it got embraced by sports right away. He sold the idea to, I think, CBS. And, pretty neat story. If you Wikipedia Telestrator, there's a really neat story. He was out of New York now that I think about it.
Okay.
So just a little tidbit for the
I didn't
history
know that.
buffs
A
out
little
there.
history lesson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so what we want to do is right now we have our Wirecast output. This could be anything. At the moment, it's our live broadcast, but I could add, say, one of my cameras or some. Actually, I'm gonna add it on the second layer just so we can be a little more have some layering capabilities with Wirecast. And I'm just gonna pull in the Logitech webcam. Which I believe I have plugged into my system, but I want to double check that. Let's pull that in, and looks like I might need to unplug and plug that in just a second. Make sure we have some visuals to work with while we are demoing this. And there we go. Okay. So we've got my camera sort of plugged in. We've got the webcam right there, and I'm working on a Windows machine here, so it's not my standard normal demo machine. And so as I was saying, we've got the ability to sort of take either one of these into our Telestrator, and we can actually send the signal from Wirecast over to Panimation. Now, this could be on separate machines, or it can be on the same machine like the one I'm showing here, right?
That's right.
So we need to start the output. Is that what you recommend in kind of starting the NDI output from Wirecast?
Yeah, so the idea with a Telestrator is you're going to be receiving a signal from a switcher or a live camera feed that's supporting NDI, and you can see that right in our workspace. So yeah, as soon as you turn that on, you can go to Panimation, or you can click on Telestrator, and look at the different. This is a different user interface, basically, much
Okay.
more simplified. The difference here is Panimation is designed to create graphics for like pre-production, or even post-production if you want to do stuff for editing. It's a great full-function 2D paint and animating compositing tool.
Okay.
So that's a mouthful. So what we did was we took this vector-based drawing tool, which is Panimation, and we sort of extracted this Telestrator tool by simplifying the user interface. So yeah, so if you go to Telestrator,
And real quick, I want to see that we have send NDI. There's a light here. There's receive
yep,
NDI, but that's not
yep,
on yet. We have not yet received NDI.
right,
Okay.
we have not enabled it yet.
Okay.
So you could do that in either panel, but let's just do it from here.
Okay.
So if you click on the cog up top there, next to Globecast or Telestrator,
Workspace properties.
Yeah, you'll see the workspace properties, and if you click on that NDI capture card or NDI/capture card source there, you will see whatever is on your network that happens to be an NDI stream.
So I'm seeing NDI streams from Deborah Lee's computers because she uses NDI in the studio control room, but I'm also seeing this desktop here. So the way we can kind of tell is all these sources come from the desktop KPBTH. Looks like a random number gets assigned to NDI outputs by NDI. And then I'm seeing this last one, which is probably our Wirecast here locally.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, this
There
morning, getting ready for this show, I don't know if you saw this, Andrew, but I sent you an email, a screen grab. Behind me, my wife has a iMac from 2010. Old machine basically that I installed Panimation on using Parallels, which comes with it doesn't come with Windows 10. The demo comes with Windows 10. Bottom line is, for like $150, I got Panimation working on a 2010 iMac.
That's awesome.
Yeah, with Wirecast and NDI and all that is unbelievable. I don't think you could even buy one if you look for one that old. But,
it's not easy to find. So I'm seeing the broadcast output. So we're basically pulling it in. Just to be clear here, not every version of Wirecast outputs NDI. You need the Pro version of Wirecast. So you can pull in NDI in Wirecast Studio, but if you want to push Wirecast, Wirecast content out via NDI, that's a Pro feature. So that's what I enabled in Wirecast. We can actually now take my camera from my preview over to the live window just to verify here that we are in fact doing this. So let's take the camera over, and that should automatically pull the camera content right into Panimation. So there we go. All right, so I'm going to close my live. I'm just going to close down to one window here in Wirecast to keep it simple. And Windows accidentally grabbed the top of the screen there and full screened it. Okay, so now we've got our signal. We've got our camera signal from Wirecast. Now we need to start drawing and doing stuff and sending it back to Wirecast, right?
That's right. So we really don't need that workspace properties anymore.
Okay.
All of that stuff gets cached, by the way. So every time you turn Panimation on now, it'll actually remember all these settings, so you don't have to go through that during the setup, which is great.
That's handy.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a quick tour of the interface here, left to right, top to bottom. So, the clear and the snap buttons are obviously the most used buttons in the application. Clear cleans off your workspace. Snap will grab an image, which will allow us to do some really neat things, which we'll show in a minute.
Okay.
These 8 little boxes up here that have a paintbrush and a white dot, those are our favorites. So.
Okay.
Down below, there's a whole bunch of different ones that you could drag up into there and, sort of create favorites, so you don't even have to see this bin down here below anymore.
Okay.
And then to the right of that are just some basic tools, the move, the edit. We have the indicators up top to tell us if we're streaming NDI or not, or receiving it or not. So that's basically all there is. And in fact, that panel up there can be moved as well. So if you grab the handlebar on the far left next to clear, going down to the bottom there, I've got sort of a cornucopia of effects and things that you can do with live video. Probably the most common is that yellow stripe with the paintbrush there next to the
right here.
Down, that's a gray one. That works too. Sort of the equivalent of that. It almost looks that one right there.
That's the one.
That's the one I use. Yeah, I use that one all the time.
Okay.
So just by selecting that, you can start drawing in the workspace. Any of these tools, that's a sizing tool. Yeah, so go ahead and play around, and
okay.
I'll just sort of talk about what you're doing as you go.
I'm going to grab a couple more favorites here, and I'm going to start by selecting just our stripe tool, which you mentioned, and I can start drawing. So there we go. We can do, and if I want to undo that and maybe just make it more of a smiley face, and I'll do a little dot and a dot. Okay, so I've got it all drawn, but I am not seeing that back in Wirecast, so I can't. So my audience wouldn't yet be seeing it, right?
Yeah, right. I wonder what that's about. Let's go check it out.
Okay.
So in Wirecast, and I'm seeing a picture of myself real big in the corner here.
Yeah,
Let me see.
that's right. It's probably Deborah Lee just putting you in there so that we can kind of keep you involved here as you give us the guided tour.
Yeah, so there's one thing we need to do here in Wirecast, and that's to add a layer for our output. Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
So we're just going to add, and the output's just automatically on from Panimation. I didn't have to turn anything on, or is it just doing it, or did I do it yesterday?
Yeah, you did it yesterday, so
I did it yesterday.
Right.
So for people who may not know how to do that, where do they turn that output on? Is it
right
up here? Okay.
Yep.
So back in the workspace properties, we make sure that we're outputting NDI, and you just choose the size and the format, and if it has an alpha transparency, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
And
so by setting
Go ahead.
By setting that NDI on and setting that format and even alpha, that's what gets recorded, whenever the app closes, and will automatically be on again. So the thinking here is, let's make it as easy as possible for people to open the app and start working. Let's not make it where they have to go and click on this menu and click on that menu. Literally just open it and start painting, and that's what the goal is.
So here in Wirecast, I'm just adding a network source, which again, same thing I did in Panimation. I looked on the network, I looked for NDI sources, I selected Wirecast. Now I'm just completing the loop, and I'm having Wirecast look for whatever Panimation is broadcasting, and we're going to add that. And now it's in there as a layer, and actually if I pull up my preview layer, we'll see. And I wonder if I need to start or stop that again. Well, and maybe we can try adding it again as a source here. See how
This
we
is
do.
the most fun part of these live shows is like,
Yes.
because this is the thing you're going to run into, right? It's like, oh, what should just work right away, here's how we troubleshot it and got it going.
All right. Oh, because I stopped broadcasting. So let's try this again. We're going to try on again.
Yeah.
And now we're going to, there it is. So just toggle it on
Okay.
off. Now I can turn off the alpha as well, hopefully, or the black
Yeah, turn
background.
on the alpha. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So alpha will basically pass in a transparency through.
Right.
That's the idea. So
Let's
I
go
don't
back
know
here. There it is.
what.
So we've got it
Okay.
all coming through, and now going on. And so you may obviously at home only have a couple of. So
Well, and that points out that's a great thing to point out. So you have a free demo, just like you guys have with your Wirecast. So feel free to download it, put it in a real life scenario that you think you're going to encounter, whether it be a high school sporting event or, a church stream where you're having several maybe PTZ cameras using NDI. We definitely want you to succeed. There are some tips and tricks to that. If you are limited on network bandwidth, for example, one of the things that people do with this tool is actually set the resolution to a anamorphic standard def,
mhm.
which NewTek, the NDI does a fantastic job upresing stuff. So, and that's a great little trick for bringing in content without taking up your whole bandwidth. And one other thing I'll say, really just sending graphics. We're not sending your composited image back to you. So if you were to look at what we're actually feeding, it's just the graphic itself and an alpha channel.
Mhm.
And so as you move those things around, you're seeing a refresh happening in the workspace, which has a little bit of a distortion, but that's never seen on the output. I want to make
Right.
that clear.
Yeah,
So
I'm
that,
noticing that in Wirecast, nothing. There's no refreshing happening. It's all super smooth and
yeah,
clear. It's
that's right.
fantastic.
Yep. So what we're doing, there's a sort of a recursive effect happening in our workspace because we're actually viewing your output, right?
Yes.
So if you were to actually, and what I do a lot of the times is I'll actually just send the NDI feed of a camera directly in here, instead of the program out, so to speak, of a switcher. But
Okay.
you can do either, of
Yeah,
course.
Wirecast at the moment is limited in its capability to do that. So you have to send the program out at the moment.
Okay.
Eventually, the plan is to be able to NDI out whatever sources individually as sort of clean feeds you want. But for now, you have to send out the program out via NDI.
Sure, sure. Any NDI source, though, as you know, is viewable in both of our apps. That's one
Mhm.
of the another beautiful things about NDI is that, like when you were looking at our inputs, we saw if you're on the same network, I should say, you would be able to see all of Deborah Lee's stuff from our interface as well.
Okay.
So let's talk about some of the cool things that are in the snap button.
Okay.
So if you right click on that snap button, you may get a pop-up there. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so we have a few options here. So snap stroke literally just grabs an image and throws it in the workspace.
Okay.
The snap background and the snap stroke is something we can edit. So we can use like our magnify tool, we can use colorize effects, we can do all kinds of really neat things to the image. Snap background is sort of just a placeholder, so it's not really something we can edit, but gives people an example if they just want to freeze frame on something that's coming in without sending that full image back to the switcher. That's how you would do that.
Okay.
Clear background is another opportunity to clear. Save snap picture is something I just put up here like today. So what that does is it actually will save an image that you grab to a predefined destination. So during the course of an event, if you wanted to create a folder full of images that you are telestrating,
Hmm.
maybe for post-production purposes, or even after the show you want to do like a credit roll with different images, you can do that, with stuff that you've captured throughout the course.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and let's click off that for now, and then just
Okay.
hit the snap button.
Okay, so
Okay.
it froze my, it took a snap, a screenshot.
That's right. It took a
Okay.
screenshot. So now what you can do is actually go in, and there is a magnify tool in here that's a great thing to demo with this.
Okay.
And you have to scroll down in that window there
So
and
I'm
see
getting
it.
some odd, I think my window size may be a little off here. So I'm getting some
Try.
cutoff
I like
here.
to. Yeah, just go ahead and grab the bin at the top, not where the to the left there, and then just dunk it underneath there, and it'll probably refresh that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so it may be some kind
There
of
we go.
GPU thing. So we've got that magnify there. It
Okay.
actually looks like a little magnify tool. Go ahead and click on that.
So the magnify tool, is it on the, oh, here we go. I got it. Cool.
Yep.
I'm gonna drag that to one of my favorite spots. All right. So
Yeah, there you go. And now you can click in the workspace.
whoa,
and drag.
yeah. That's crazy.
And once it's created, you can either use the move button or the right mouse and drag it around on your screen.
Okay.
You know, either way. And
Will it
that way
conform if I hold the shift? Yep. It does the,
Yep.
it constrains proportions.
Yep.
And then, oh, I could actually do ones within one, zooms
Yeah.
within zooms. So we can grab the
That's
move
right.
and we can actually move that around. Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so this is really neat for like, did he step out of bounds
Right.
type situations where maybe you're feeding something back to the sideline for a coach to look at or a official to look at. It's a neat way to do that. Or, if you're doing like a tech demo and you want to really illustrate like where to put a screw in a computer, you can have this telestrator set up with an overhead camera and snap an image. Instead of having to zoom that camera in all the way and then zoom it back out after you're done, you can just kind of quickly illustrate something that's maybe small in the picture. So that's a really neat tool, and actually probably by the weekend we'll have a bezel on that, so it's actually going to have a circle around it to sort of help define the this is funny, this is the now you're having fun.
Yes,
See, and
yes.
this is what I really envisioned, like, adding like if you're talking about a school production, maybe there's a kid in a live television class that is not involved currently with the live production. I almost think this could be a fun extra seat, and for the money it's not very expensive to add a graphics tool into a live production where someone could actually play around, like almost like Monty Python type stuff.
Oh, wow, and I can even move the background image on top of the zooms, so pretty impressive what this software is doing, by the way.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you can bring anything in, by the way. So the POW and the GA and the BIF, those were all just graphics that I stole off the internet, like a Batman website. And if you click on those are just stamps. So if you just, click them in the workspace.
If you want to reorder elements, like bring, say, the BIF behind the zooms, is there a way to do that?
Yep, just right click on it and choose back or
backward. Cool.
Yeah.
There it is.
That'll send it. Yep. So there's just tons of stuff in there, and my point was you can actually bring graphics in. So if you just type in like batman.png or something on a Google search and just drag one of those images in, you can immediately start working with it. So it's a fun way to add color to any live show. Maybe a commentator or somebody's talking about, they go off on a tangent about some topic.
Just stamp it and boom.
Yeah, you can it's just right part of the show. So there's just Telestrator is kind of, I like to call it the shallow end of the pool, because it's easy to learn and quickly get stuff going. I think people will probably graduate to the animator side of the thing, when they want to actually start doing more complicated things. But this is just a fun way to get quick success with the application.
And of course, you got the clear, and it's all gone.
Yes,
and like
that's
magic.
Right. That's right.
And so I'm noticing, is there a way to do rotation of elements? I mean, obviously with the arrows, I'm noticing you've got so many positions here. Can I rotate this arrow at all?
Yes, you can. That would be done. That's sort of graduating. Great. That's a great segue. So
Okay.
that's graduating into the Panimation tool. So
Okay.
if you just click on Panimation,
Okay.
and everything stays in your workspace there. There's
Okay.
actually a rotate tool, and it's a layer rotation.
Okay.
So in that green button section right in the center there, you'll see the
Mm-hmm.
word layer.
Mm-hmm. And I
And
see
then
rotate.
yeah, so if you click on rotate and then just click in the workspace and drag around,
Oh, whoa.
you'll actually see it rotate around. And
Wow.
same thing is true here. If you hold down on shift, it'll lock the x-axis or, the y. So, you can rotate stuff around that way. You can also go into the layer properties itself and do
Uh-huh.
these things manually. So if you click on the layer button,
Uh-huh.
um,
There we go. Then I've got
yeah,
the
so
X, Y rotation and the
yeah,
rest of it.
yep.
Okay.
So you can just type a value in if you want to, or lock it off by just clicking and dragging with your mouse. So right where you just typed in 90,
Uh-huh.
if you click in there with your mouse and just hold down on the left mouse and push up, it'll
Okay.
actually, left
Oh, I
left
see.
click.
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Left
so
click.
there you go.
Got
So
it.
you can do that kind of stuff with it.
Very cool.
Yeah. So tons of functionality. The bow amplitude and the bow frequency and phase, those were actually lost tools. Like we forgot that functionality was even there. And the software developer was like, "Hey, I found these like buried in here," and we started playing around with them, and it's a lot of fun. Actually, the best way to do it is to click on bow amplitude,
Okay.
like click on the button, and then drag in the workspace again, just like clicking your mouse and drag.
Whoa, what is even happening?
I don't know. I mean, it's the coolest thing. And you can animate this
So you can
stuff
animate this over time. So if I want the
Yes.
arrow to do some funky stuff, it'll
Yeah.
and then just change that. It'll animate the value. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
You
pretty
would
sweet.
just right click in that value field there where you're seeing 1,000 and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and just say animate on, and then go to a different point in time and then change the value again.
Huh.
So there's a ton of stuff, and there's training online that I do. I'm available for web shares and do training myself on the product. Yeah, you could really get lost and have a lot of fun in
Oh,
here.
totally. There's even test
So-
stills here, so you've got portraits of stuff I assume you can drag that on. You've got
Yeah. So
Okay.
our layer is still rotated. If you hit the reset button down below in the green section there, it's the very bottom
got
center.
it. Not that one, this one. Spotter center. Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
that one. There we go. So now you can drag it around, and probably need to reset something else too. It looks like it's cropping her head off
That's
there at
all
the
right.
top.
I'm just gonna undo back here a little bit. We're gonna go to reset there. And
Or you can hit the new button too, which is actually down in the blue buttons section. I should probably give you a quick tour of this UI as well. It's a lot
Okay.
it's a lot busier than Telestrator, but it's really broken up into 3 key pieces.
Okay.
The red buttons affect the object. So currently the object in your workspace is that Panimation flag. So anything you did in the red buttons would affect that. The green buttons down below affect the layer that the object is on. So, each layer can have as many objects on it as you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, the blue buttons refer to the workspace as a whole and the project as a whole. So, if you want to change the file type from PNG to AVI or MOV or, any of the different file types that you want to save it as, zoom controls for your workspace, timeline controls, all that good stuff. So those are the 3 key pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can drill down on that if you want to by clicking on the actual first colored button in the series. So like stroke, layer, and workspace have submenus.
Okay.
So I don't want to scare
Got it.
people off how much there is here, but
Yeah,
there's
there's a ton. There's a ton.
there's a ton. Let's see here. So why don't we show them a couple of the templates that come with it,
Okay.
which I think are great learning tools. That's how I learned how to use this application. So on the right-hand side, in your bin on the right, you're going to see CG, Pan Am, and stills.
Okay.
And so what I would say is go ahead and, click clear out your workspace so we can see you again.
Yeah, so the clear button one more time.
It's called new in this application.
In Panimation side, it's new.
Yeah,
So
new.
where?
Probably would be good It's in the blue
Is it in layers or is it in workspace?
workspace. Yeah.
Workspace.
So
Okay, there we go.
yeah, there you go. So so that clears it out, and let's go ahead and go into the Pan Am folder for a second.
Okay.
Yep.
And we got.
And so
Go ahead.
yep. We got alpha, colors, layers, projects, sampler. I mean, I could literally go on and on. I've done these other shows where it's just like 2 or 3 hours. So sampler and project. Let's go into projects.
Projects. Okay.
Yeah, look at that. First we'll do is we'll just kind of show you guys a couple of the ideas of what you can make with it. So if we go into overlay, I think this is a great little sampler of content. Now I will say this, a lot of these projects, these are all PNGs, so there's no harm here, but they will probably load up at 1080 size. So go ahead and double click on any of them that you want.
Okay, let's start with our, well, I don't know, we'll start, looks like the Capitol building.
Yeah. So,
nice.
So this is like a virtual set thing. And this was actually part of a Homer Simpson virtual set where Homer was like this giant, 100-foot tall man or whatever. I don't know, 1,000-foot tall, I guess you'd have to be. But anyway, you can kind of like be up and above it. So that's just a simple overlay.
Okay.
None of these, by the way, in this little sampler folder are animated, but the projects for them are available. It's about I think it's almost a gig, the content, so I didn't bake it into the installer so that people didn't have to wait forever for it to download.
Got it.
But here's another example of a virtual set thing, and it does look like that's probably set for 1080 or 1080 size, which it's scaling down for us.
Okay.
But anyway, there's just a ton of stuff. Lower thirds in here. Those double boxes are great for live shows. Not sure.
How would I add text here as a lower third?
Yeah, so you would go into your Pan Am folder. So on the right-hand side there, I would say just go into Pan Am and then go to Sampler.
Okay.
Okay.
Choose one of the text sources.
Yeah, exactly. So these are just ideas. You can like literally make text like whatever text you want. I mean, they're all TrueType fonts. So just click in the workspace and start typing.
Let's see here.
You don't actually have to drag. You can just, by having the tool selected, you could start typing. Now, what you might have had to do, you go ahead and get rid of that. You could hit undo.
All right.
A couple times probably to get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, what I can actually, okay, there we go.
Now hit create in the red button section.
Okay.
So by dragging that into the workspace, we actually kind of changed the behavior. Now.
Oh, I see. It was up in the corner the whole time.
Yeah. So you can move that by right click and drag, or you can just click somewhere else and start typing.
There we go.
There you go. So the layer is off, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna get back. We gotta send it front, maybe.
Well, I was gonna say the layer size or something looks like it's off. If you click on the layer button, see how it's getting hidden down below there?
Yeah, I do.
Click on layer and let's see what's going on there.
Okay.
Which is green button there. Okay, yeah, I see where it says move up there. Hit the reset button to the far right.
Okay.
There you go. All right, so now it's in its correct position.
Got it.
You'd be able to drag it down. So what you're doing is live text editing right now.
Right, and that's all appearing on my output.
Yeah, so you can get a pre-visualization based on a shot that you want to build a graphic for, which is great. I mean, if something's changed, the set changed or something, and you want to quickly get an idea, maybe your camera angle changed, you need to make a quick change to the graphic itself and its position, you can do that right here. Some of the other tools on the right hand side, you got a drag corner tools that have little arrows, so try that. Try that red one. Just click and drag. There you go.
Wow.
And you can
create a gradient.
The position. Yeah. And if you want to change colors or even the image that's mapped to it, you can do all that good stuff. So any tool can be modified to become anything else.
And it's animating. What's cool about this to me is just how fast it's animating right across to Wirecast. So if I want to, with my mouse, just quickly, do a color wash, it's just seamless over inside of Wirecast. It's so cool.
Yeah, this latest version of NDI 3.5 really improved things for us. We're using RGB Alpha for our method of moving our graphics from one app to the other. And there was an 80%, well, they say 80% improvement. I mean, we already thought it was fast,
Right.
but it's much faster now. Whenever you're doing live graphics with the NDI.
That's
So
amazing. I could click and drag money signs just to pop
Y-
in.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you want that adds an element to your live stream, if you're doing a live stream and I think gamers might be able to use this kind of thing. I made some content actually for gamers based on what I had seen on Twitch. I'm a dinosaur, Andrew. I'm like, I'm thawing out after being frozen for a decade, and I'm like paying attention again to what people are
What
doing.
people are doing out there.
Yeah, right. And so, I'm not a great graphic artist. I'll be the first to tell you that, but I am good at copying stuff that's out there, and I know how our tool obviously does the same stuff.
Right.
So, what I've done is built a few extra content packages that you can download from our Facebook page, or panamndi.com.
I actually
That
did download one of your content packages.
Cool.
So let's see if I can pull that up real fast. I think we're going to go, I think it's just here in the downloads. And
Okay.
there it is, content.zip, Pan Am.
Cool.
So if I want to take advantage of the content pack, how do I do I just unzip it and then what do I do next? Just open
Yeah,
it up?
just unzip it straight to the Pan Am or to the Globecaster bins folder.
Okay.
So yeah, just drag it right into Globecaster bins or copy and paste it in there.
Here?
Yeah, well, no,
Oh,
you'll have to do it from that window there. So what I would do is just right click on where it says content
mm-hmm.
in your actual window.
Okay.
Yeah, right click on that and choose copy.
Okay.
And then navigate in that window there, the
Mm-hmm.
Windows window,
The Windows
to
window.
to wherever you have Globecaster installed. I think you
It's in
installed
the
it in
program 86. Yeah.
yeah, program
So we're just
86.
going to Globecaster,
Yeah,
which is right here,
yeah.
and in the
And
bins.
then yeah, bins is the place to put stuff because that's sort of a sacred ground. Like whenever people upgrade the software, there's an opportunity to, when you uninstall, it'll ask you, do you want to retain the bins directory? Because
Got it.
that's your content.
Got it.
So yeah, so it'll copy there.
So while it's
And
copying in there, let's just talk, see what the audience is saying while people are kind of watching what we've done here as we've sort of been playing around and taking a little tour of the Panimation software. John mentions that NDI 3.5 is a big improvement. He completely agrees. And Panimation is a set of Windows programs. It looks like John might be helping you out. He kind of knows a little bit more here.
Great, thank you, John.
Good evening, Mike Benke. You're a busy man, he says.
Yeah.
Looks like Rob Munzing. He says it sounds awesome. We have Matthew Franco, first time tuning in. I just started using Wirecast to broadcast football. This product looks like a great complement. Do you have anyone using this for sports right now? I saw some stills, I think from Whitney High School and their football game on your site. Are they using it, or do you know of any other people using this for sports?
That was a sly, targeted marketing effort on my part to capture your attention, Andrew.
It worked.
I know that they're a customer of yours from looking at your site and watching your videos. So I thought, well, this is great. Let's do this. You know what? The Telestrator tool itself I've gotten an incredible amount of input from people who do live sports for high schools as a money making thing. So these guys who have these trailers that go out and do live sports for high schools and stream them for them have been really critical in helping me define what tools need to be there.
Rob Munzing actually is a guy like that. He's a teacher, but on the side, they go out and they film games and they get hired to go out and broadcast them for folks. And they do a great job. So that you're working with people like him to get the tools in there for them that they might need.
Absolutely. And I would love to talk to Rob. I mean, the thing about it is the customers know what they need, right?
Right.
We sit here in our offices and we think we know what they need, and we do things that make sense to us, but sometimes that's right and sometimes we're wrong. And so it's really nice to be able to be in constant contact with them in terms of defining what the scope of work is, and implementing that in a tool that like this guy that I've been working with, his main focus is, a coach or a student or a color analyst that they've hired to do this live stream. They, number one, they need to be able to use the tool quickly and easily. So that's why Telestrator has so many fewer buttons. I mean, you can do everything in Panimation that you can do in Telestrator, obviously, but it's just overwhelming for a guy who's not a graphic artist to look at that user interface and try to make sense of it quickly. So, we just threw away 90% of the buttons. And then we're baking in these features like being able to snap an image and, being able to send commands, which I know is something that, people are doing with some of the other tools out there. Would love to see that in Telestrator or in Wirecast as well. If you have clip playback and all that stuff. So maybe a feature request.
Yep.
But anyway, it's all about the customer. And, so we're developing around their needs, and I think it's a great tool.
Well, here's that Whitney shot right here. Looks like you had, looks like a replay sort of simulation here of the drawing the line through there and finding the receiver, open receiver.
That's right.
So, let's talk a little bit about kind of future plans here. You're working with people to kind of adapt this now with NDI and how people are using this out there with live switching applications like Wirecast and things like that. You're kind of developing the tool set and refining it. What about, obviously you've got some tech debt here with, things that you'll want to improve. I assume you'll want a scalable interface at some point. We'll talk a little bit about that, in your plans for that. What are the barriers at the moment? Is that just a massive rewrite project you have to undertake at some point, or is it maybe just something that you can get to a piece at a time?
Yeah, I think a piece at a time. I mean, the UI is definitely something different, right? It's not like a typical Windows user interface. In fact, we wrote we have our own UI. Mm-hmm. We don't leverage much at all from Windows in terms of how that works. And that was built around a time when people did things full screen with respect to this stuff. Our screen sizes back in the late 90s and early 2000s, 1280 by 1024 was as big as it got, really.
Right.
Now we've got these monitors that can do, much larger sizes than that. And so that was sort of the windowed mode, as a matter of fact, was an afterthought. The fact that you can open the app now in a window is something relatively new for us. So, yes, the scaling is on the roadmap. Being able to click and drag the user interface and have it resize is on the roadmap. So there are some things above that, frankly, right now. Mm-hmm. Focusing again on like these, like the live events with Telestrator. There are things that we want to do with respect to the tools. So like the bezel on the magnify tool, mm-hmm. We think that would be a nice thing to have in there quickly. We've got these control capabilities and the ability to grab images and save them off to a location during the course of the event, whether it be an FTP site or whatever. So we're sort of focused on the tools that will enhance the experience within the app right now. Mm-hmm. And then, and we're hoping that people will spend the day or two that it takes to get used to moving things around within our app.
Right.
The general consensus is, yes, it's a little bit hard to enter that application, being so used to, how Windows behaves
these days, right?
But once you get it, like, it doesn't take long from when you're like, what is this, to like, oh, that is on our mind to talk about, but definitely we're focused right now on the features that will help people produce things they want to produce.
I have to say, just clicking around it, just with the little time I've spent with it, it it starts to go a lot faster once you kind of remember where buttons are, and once you figure out kind of how it sort of works. It's not too tricky, and in a lot of ways, it's super function obvious. I don't know how else to explain it, but you just kind of, oh, well, if I want to move that, I click the move button. If I want to, go to the, the bin over here, I click on the bin. It seems like there's always a button for whatever I'm trying to do. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty much just have to look around, find the button, and then I can usually figure it out really fast. So I think that it's not too hard to figure out after a little time, and I can kind of see that over time there's obviously just so much you can do already. I'm wondering, are there hotkeys tied to these buttons? I could see myself wanting, much like Photoshop or something, wanting to quickly tap a hotkey to just select the correct move tool for the layer or the workspace or the that kind of stuff. Is that already something that's in the program?
Tons
Okay.
of them. Yeah, in fact, if you go to the start menu, there you're going to see a user guide in there, and at the end of that, we have a appendice or appendix. I never know what to call it. Is it appendix? Can I get a ruling on this? Is it appendix or appendices?
Right.
Anyway, in the start menu under Globecaster, yeah, you're going to see a Panimation manual. At the end of it, basically, there is a ton of keyboard shortcuts, and in fact, I have some. I have like a dozen new ones that aren't even listed in here that you'll find on our forum.
Okay.
That talk about all kinds of, like you say, if you want to rotate or you want to, do different things, toggle edit guides. I'm just like seeing stuff fly by right here, but
yeah. I'm seeing it all. That's great.
Tons of stuff. Yep.
So talk a little bit about the graphics and the scaling. Are they all vector based? Do they
Yes.
scale nicely at any size? I noticed they looked pretty darn clear and crystal no matter how much I was blowing them up or shrinking them.
Yes, they are vector based, and the projects will actually scale as well, as long as you don't have NDI turned on.
Mm-hmm.
Our app does not like to shift from one resolution to another while NDI is enabled.
To be fair, most applications, including Wirecast, don't like you to mess around because that messes with their whole render performance, because that's what they're crunching and compositing everything at. So if you then take the ground out from under them, so to speak, they don't like that.
Okay, good. It's not just me then. All right.
Yeah, it's anything with the render engine. Usually, it has to warn them and say, "Hey, you're currently outputting at this. Can you, if you want to switch resolutions, you might want to stop your output before you then swap your resolutions."
Yeah, and we do go as far as to say that whenever you click on the resolution that we're outputting, it actually says, turn off NDI first, to avoid crashing and dying, basically, because it doesn't handle it if you do. But so as a matter of fact, we were working yesterday in the sort of pre-tech setup for this, and we ran into that. I was showing one of the projects that was built in 1080, and we were currently in a 720 mode, and it didn't handle it very well. But the point is, I guess, getting off that, like, yes, everything's vector based. So if you build a project in 1080 and you want to repurpose it for even standard def, all you do is literally change the workspace resolution, and all those objects will scale down to, whatever resolution you're changing to.
Got it.
And it'll do it as gracefully as possible. For the most part, it does a great job. There are a few things that need tweaking after it does that, but most part, it does pretty good.
Yeah, and I have to say, and again, this is all just a little layer inside Wirecast. So, I mean, it's amazing the versatility I can do, and both foreground and background. And then, of course, I can relayer stuff inside Wirecast. So if I want to appear in front of the weather, I can always come in and drag that and bring these on screen together, and then chroma key myself out or whatever I want to do. So don't forget that the space within Wirecast itself also gives you a ton of flexibility with this stuff. So as I'm drawing things in my own background, it's just so much fun what I can do. And I'm changing that as I go. So it's pretty amazing once you start getting involved with this. It doesn't all have to be foreground. It can be background. It can be however you want it to go. And I have to say, it's just flying. Like the frame rate's really high. Everything just is passing back and forth seamlessly, and that speaks volumes here. Tell us. So we're almost out of time here, and we probably gone a little long. In fact, what's the price of this? Where do people find more for it? Like, what are you charging, and how do they get it?
$195.
Okay.
You get Panimation, you get the Telestrator, you get all this content that I'm adding to daily. You know, the Twitch, tour that I went on, I built graphics. I just throw them up online so people can dissect them, learn from them, employ them into whatever they're doing. Upgrades, for the life of the product. There are going to be probably times when we come out with a pro feature or something, and we'll create a whole nother tier. We're batting that around with some of the API controls that we have for TriCasters right now.
Mm-hmm.
But $195 gets you an amazing, I think, the most flexible graphics tool on the planet. For the money, actually, for this show, or for Wirecast customers who are watching your show, I want to offer a 20% coupon on our store for 30 days. We really appreciate you recognizing us as a maker of things that works well with your amazing tool. So 20% off if you type in Wirecast Live on Pan Am NDI. And we're updating the product all the time. I don't really have a super sophisticated way of managing that. Like, there's not something that's going to say there's a new version available when you open the app. So
right.
I pretty much just send emails out or try to ping people in some way to let them know that there's something that's new and give them an idea what it is in case they think it's important or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, you might try a simple web browser plugin that says, "Can I send updates?" So even if you just do a push update through Chrome or something, anyone who goes to your site and buys the software, you could say, "Hey, we can send you updates when we update new content or new versions." So you might get a good way to push people that way. Of course, you should have their email when they log in too, so that's the other way.
Yeah, well, you know what, and Andrew, you're the genius on this stuff, right? You're like that age where it's like y'all know all those tricks, right? So I got to spend more time with you. I mean, I just learned a lot watching you do Wirecast in a couple minutes there. So absolutely, we keep in touch with you. Even if you've just demoed it, I want to make sure that it's working for you, that you've installed it. Like, I installed it on that Mac behind me, that Mac Mini, and was shocked that it worked. Frankly, using Parallels, I literally downloaded all of it today and just
that's great.
Turned it on. Yeah. So right now, for 5 more days, by the way, I learned this morning, on Parallels, you can buy Parallels for $59. Windows for $100, and Panimation for $195. I mean, you do the math, that's under $400 for a full-on Telestrator paint and animation tool that work on, I gotta believe, any Mac. I mean, if it works on this 2010 iMac,
it's gonna be pretty good. Yeah, just about anything they need to.
I would imagine. I'm not really in the business of bundling things, but I wouldn't be afraid to do it, and actually I would love to hear from somebody who maybe has, Parallels installed on their Mac, if they want to download it. There's a couple things I'd like to test.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe first person who can, raise their hand to do that, I'll throw them a copy of Panimation,
Cool.
So.
All right. Well, you guys heard it. Definitely reach out. Where can people reach out more, to get a hold of you if they have questions, they want to get this, 20% off coupon, which is pretty rad, Wirecast Live during checkout. But if you have questions or you forget that, just reach out to Mike. I think we have a contact card for you, but I'm going to let you shout out where people can reach you.
Yeah, this is perfect. Deborah Lee did a great job here. Deborah Lee, thank you. So the website, globalstreams.com, that's our main site. What we're showing today is Panimation, which you can get to off the main site. There's actually an alternate site called panamndi.com. But you can, like I say, there's a link to it right there on the main page. My contact information is right there, mbanky@globalstreams.com. Great way to get a hold of me. Facebook page is right. Everything looks great right there. I mean, any of those ways. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not much into the social media yet. I know it's important. I don't even know how to get into my Instagram account right now.
So send you an email.
So yeah, best way just to send me an old email. That's
All right.
the best way to get me. So.
Not a problem. It's sometimes the old, the old reliable is the way it works best. So I have to concur here, though. I've looked at other Telestrator software, other NDI animation software, and I have to say I think yours is the most comprehensive and affordable combination. Like I've looked at like NewTek, they charge like $600 or something, $500 or $600, and their software doesn't do everything that this does. So it's pretty impressive, both the price point that you're offering and just what I've seen so far. It's pretty amazing.
We feel pretty good about the value. Like even Kane Peterson, who's been very helpful from NewTek, says, this is a steal at $195.
It really is.
And, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from NewTek's Telestrator. It's a great tool.
And we'll be covering that at some point on the show. I haven't had a chance to get into this. This was our first sort of toe in the water. You approached us. We talked with Eric, and this seemed like a great fit. I was so curious. I wanted to talk about this, and it was like, well, let's bring you on. You're definitely not only the more affordable option, but the one that I reached out to us first. So I really wanted to show this.
I really appreciate you making this forum available to me, Andrew. I mean, I know we haven't met before, and unfortunately, I came by the booth at NAB, but you were in the middle of a meeting, I think, at the time. And Eric, like you say, is a great conduit. He seems to know everybody in the industry.
He knows everybody.
He's a great friend to have. So I really appreciate him helping put this together as well. He's the distributor, by the way. If you're a dealer, or you like to buy through your dealer, he's the guy who sets that up, and that's a great way to get the software as well.
What's the official name of his distribution company?
Yeah, it's US Broadcast, and the website is usbroadcast.co. And they carry all kinds of things. They build a computer for live streaming, cameras, all kinds of stuff. So definitely check out his site as well for tools. Definitely more on the PC end, of things. Eric, a virtual set guy, I mean, he's one of these guys that you're not going to meet many of them like in the industry, real love for the game. And
it's like in his blood.
Yeah. There's I can't imagine him
doing anything
cars.
Else. Right.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
Anything else, anyway.
Great guy. Well, I'm glad so much to have you on the show, folks. Again, you can check out Panimation. There's a free demo, so it gives you about 30 days.
Yeah, I think the one up there right now has like 3 weeks left on it. Again, I'm not very sophisticated, so I actually manually update these things.
Okay.
If you need more time, let me know.
Okay.
It's one of those
That's
things.
pretty awesome. So you can try this out for free for 25 days. You've got YouTube videos. You're doing tutorials. There's also this user guide. And again, once you start playing around with it, it makes a lot of sense. It's pretty easy. And just having somebody else on the network just playing around with Panimation, watching your stream, and maybe even just doing funny little jokes as you go along is a great way to get started and get into it. And then if you're getting more serious, then working out a real workflow, and I'm sure you can help, if you give people ideas if they have questions on how to make that work with what they're doing.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here to do.
Okay. Well, Mike Behnke, thanks so much for joining us on Wirecast Live today. I really appreciate this tour of Panimation. Again, check it out at panamndi.com or at Globecast Global Systems, right?
Global Streams.
Global Streams. I'm sorry. Globecaster, yep. Global Streams. So either way, check those out, and I highly encourage you guys to try it. It's pretty. I was already having a ton of fun. I think I might have to keep a copy on Parallels or something locally, so I can just animate my own streams here from moving forward. So thanks again.
Thank you, Andrew. I had a great time.
All right. We'll see you next time, and we'll talk more about it. So that was Mike from Panimation, and we talked about the Telestrator feature in Panimation and brought on live graphics. And I'm really curious. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys thought of that. If it's something you might use in your own workflows. Again, there's no risk to try. Go download it. It's for Windows systems. It's easy to use, easy to install, and we showed you how to hook up both the NDI output and input. You don't necessarily need to have the Wirecast stream coming in. You can, of course, just be animating and broadcasting out from Panimation and pull that into Wirecast Studio or Pro. So we did it, in the way that you could be able to see and even snapshot or screenshot what Wirecast was sending out. But you don't have to work with it that way. And I'd be curious to see what you guys do with it and start checking it out. It's a pretty fun program. Let's see. Last sort of couple announcements. I want to say thanks to our partners, our technology partners for this show. They help make this possible. And if you want to sign up to get future announcements on what we'll have on the show, fun tools like the Panimation software or experts or interviews that we're doing, you should sign up for the email list, and we'll let you know what the upcoming schedule is for the show. That's at telestream.net/WirecastLive. And we will be back next week, and we're going to be diving more into audio. So learning a lot about audio and how to sort of properly route it. We've had some questions about that, and I might have some time to set up a little more of a full-featured demo on how to sort of avoid feedback loops and some audio routing things you may want to think about. So that should be a fun show. And you can subscribe to that and get notified at telestream.net/WirecastLive. Thanks to all of you for watching. And it says, like, Ference says he's definitely going to try it for sure. Is Wirecast compatible with IGTV yet? I'm not sure what IGTV is. I'll have to check that out. John says Eric is another super awesome guy, and a few other things, other folks there. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching. I appreciate it. I hope this was a helpful show and gave you some ideas for things you can be doing in your own live productions using the magic of NDI and Telestration. All right, we'll see you next time. This has been another episode of Wirecast Live.